Hello and welcome to the second Java tutorial. Today we'll be going over data types and issues that you may come across when using data types. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. We're going to go to our source file just like we did in the previous uh, episode, I guess you'd call it. So then you go to new Java class and we'll call this uh, data types. Why not, right? And so now we have a class data types, public class. Remember, we're going to ignore this just for now. So we're going to type exactly what I typed in the last one. We're going to type our main method, public static void main string args. Don't forget there are square brackets on the string. And now we're going to swirly curved brackets, whatever you want to call them. And now we have our main method. Easy as that. Okay, so there are a couple of important. I'm just going to explain what a comment is real quick in this too. A comment is essentially something that does not affect the code. So when I do // you notice that the color goes from white to now gray. This means that this is now a comment. And so I can type whatever I want in here and it will not affect my code. Despite there being a green underline, it just means that doesn't make sense. But I can type data types, and this is a comment. Now comments are used for other programmers to look at your code and understand what you're trying to do with your code without having to read all the syntax. So we can read a comment and understand your code without having to go through all the syntax and sort of figure it out logically. And so it just makes things a lot easier. So then again, this does not affect the code whatsoever. So I'm going to type data types colon, and I will say some data types include string. The major data types are string, int, double, and we will go with a boolean. I think those are probably some of the most important ones. So I guess one of the first things we're going to go over is the string. When declaring a variable in Java, I'm going to show you the form. So the form does not start with a comment line, but just for the sake of this, we're going to say type, which can either be a string, int, double, boolean, or some other type that we haven't discussed. Name of variable. This is called camel case, where the first letter has a lowercase, and then the first word has a lowercase for the first letter, and then all the new words, so of and variable, the first letter is a capital. And so it's just practice. People do this generally. And so we have type, name of variable, the assignment value, which is an equal sign, followed by contents. And with a string, it's very important that we have these quotation marks, just to mean it signifies that content is a string. And then we're going to type the semicolon key, because this indicates the end of a statement. The semicolon shows that we're at the end of a statement. So I'm going to go ahead and actually write some code rather than comments. So I'll do string, my string equals my name, or probably better call this my name. So essentially, the first thing we have here is the type, like we said in the comment, followed by the variable name, which can be anything, my name. Well, that's kind of a lie. It can't be anything. There are a couple of exceptions, like you can't have plus, and like you can't have weird characters, but generally you can have numbers. It doesn't matter. But like special keys like that, it's like, no, you can't do that. Followed by the assignment key, equal sign, followed by our contents, which is my name, Connor. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and print this to the terminal. Like we remember from our last episode, we did system dot out dot print line, and then open quotations or open parentheses followed by quotations. Actually, not quotations this time. When declaring a variable, you do not need to use quotations. You simply just need to type the name, because our contents already have quotations. So now we're saying my name followed by a semicolon to indicate, remember semicolons indicate the end of a statement. We're going to go ahead and run this, and it should print out my name. And one of the major things with, there we go. So one of the major things with variables is that we have a variable name and we're assigning it to a value. And so my name, in other words, is Connor, right? And so remember, name, or this is directly related to this. This belongs to this. Okay, so now that we went over string, let's go over integers. And so an int, uh, my my favorite number is equal to 10. That's not true. I don't know what my favorite number is equal to, but I picked a random number. We're going to go ahead and print this out to the terminal like we did in the previous system.out.print line. And again, we don't need quotation marks. And you might notice an integer does not have quotation marks. Quotation marks indicate a string. An integer does not have quotation marks. It's simply whatever integer you want to put. So I'm going to put my semicolon, and I'm going to type my fave number. We could always press enter, but better to type it out. And now we're going to have Connor and 10. So we'll see this in the terminal, and we have Connor and 10. Perfect. And now we'll look at a double. So I'll say double pi is equal to 3.14 semicolon, and I'll do system.out.print line pi. And now we're going to print 3.14. And so everything looks good here, right? We're printing everything we want to print to the terminal. Everything's going well. So let's do the Boolean too before I get into some errors that we're going to face eventually. So Boolean is cold outside. I don't know if you can see this, but -11 semi-cold is cold outside is equal to true, where it's very important that the true is case sensitive, so everything is lowercase. So now we can do system.out.println, but I will kind of give you guys a trick. So you can do SOUT, and then followed by tab, and it will automatically do system.out.println because it's kind of tedious to write it all the time. So now we're going to do is cold outside. Now we'll have Connor 10 3.14 followed by true. And we have exactly what I just said. So now here's where we can run into some errors. And I remember running into these errors when I first started Java. Or just programming in general. It doesn't even need to be Java, but like if we have a Boolean value, we assign this to the Boolean value is cold outside equal to true. What if I say Connor? What if I say my name that I have up here? And now we see that I have a red light bulb kind of thing saying this is bad. Should hit the fan. This is not good. And if we hover over it, it says required type, meaning that we need a Boolean. We're assigning the Boolean variable is cold outside to, we need to assign it to a Boolean value, but we assigned it to a string Connor, because remember these quotation marks indicate a string. And so let's go ahead and put this back to true, and our error goes away just like that. Now for a double, if I put this to 3, we don't have a problem because, yeah, you might say, hey, 3 is an integer. Why aren't we getting an error here? Because this is a double. Well, it actually just ignores that, and when we print out the double, it'll say 3.0, sorry. So we have 3.0, and so you're not going to get an error there. I'm going to put this back to 3.14 because we called it pi. That makes no sense if it's just 3. Well, it kind of does, but whatever. And now if we have in my favorite number is 10, and I put 10.1, it doesn't like that because this is a double. A real number where it is not an integer, a real number that is not an integer is a double. And so if we say integer is equal to a real number that is not a double, or sorry, is not an integer, then we have 10.1 and we're going to get an error. It doesn't like that. So we're going to go back to 10, and now we have an integer and everything is okay. And same thing for string. If we put a Boolean value of true, we're going to get an error. If we put a numeric value of 10, like an integer, or even a float, it doesn't matter, we get an error. But if we put a string, it's okay. Everything's okay. And so these are the primary data types that you'll see a lot and you'll deal with regularly. And one of the key things that you should take away is the form, which is type, variable name, assignment key, content, regardless of whether it's a string or not. And also that the type that you define in the beginning defines your content. So if I have an integer, my contents must be an integer. And so it's important that you don't mix those out because it will not allow that because you're confusing Java. And that's the end of the series. Or not series, not the end of the series. That'd be a short series. The end of the episode.